Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Hard Foul. Hope you guys are enjoying yourself however you are listening and or watching, whether it is on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Cough Once for Good Luck, and or iTunes. Shout out if you're watching this on YouTube. You matter too. Don't ever think you don't. Let's see. Shout out to ibuprofen. I've been and Dayquil and Nyquil, all that shit. So I've been really sick. I've got a I've got a pulled muscle in my leg. I've just been all kinds of beat up. You can probably hear in my voice a little bit. Recovering from all that stuff. So, But we're good now. But shout out to ibuprofen and Dayquil and Nyquil and all that stuff. Y'all have made the day bearable to get through. And yeah, so I don't want to do a long-winded intro. So we're not going to. Let's get into it. I could start today because I didn't get to do this on Wednesday or Friday, and I could talk about how I was right, and I predicted not only the Verlander trade, but how I predicted the Astros winning the World Series, and I could just go on and go on and on and on and gloat and be like, oh, look at me, I'm so right, look at yay. But I'm a very humble person, so I won't talk about how right I was, even though I was. And I want to talk about what the next thing in baseball I need to be looking at here. And if you look at the Houston Astros, the immediate question after they won the World Series is, well, are they going to become the next Kansas City Royals? Right? So let's dive into that topic. So there's a big difference, in my opinion, between the Royals and Astros. When you start a business, right? You have partners on your business. Usually you have a board of directory. Usually have, guys you place in management and supervisor positions. And their job is not only to get said amount of things done, but their job is to make sure everybody else gets their stuff done, right? And managers and supervisors are always thought to be more credible, more reliable sources. They are bigger assets to your company because they're not just getting their job done, to making sure other people are getting their jobs done, right? And sometimes when you have these kind of partners or people on your board, they're one of two things generally. They're either A, really, really good at their job and super well known in their field, aka a Steve Jobs, or you get some guys who are kind of just like, he's okay, but I knew him when I grew up and he's been a really good friend for a while and I wanted to give him a job and I wanted to give him a nice paycheck, and this got me just paying back my friend, right? If you listen to hip-hop at all, it's like Young Money at one point really kind of looked like Drake, Nicki, and then a bunch of Lil Wayne's friends he just let on the label. If you have guys that are really good, but they're really just... Let me take that back. Guys that are great across the board and well-known will get serious attention from other businesses. And they'll kind of know. It's like they'll kind of, knock on the door or make calls or send out little feelers, right? And they'll be like, hey, when your contract or your deal with that business or partnership or group is up, how would you like to come work for us? We'll pay you X amount of money. Well, this is where Houston's problem is. No, I'm not going to say, Houston, we have a problem. I guess I just did. When the Royals players are all about to split up as they are now, the big difference is Kansas City is a small market team and wasn't going to be able to afford these 4 or 3 players, depending on how you value them. They weren't going to be able to pay them regardless if they made more than veteran minimum or a $6-7 million a year contract. Kansas City doesn't have that kind of money, that kind of resources. They just, once those guys got to all-star level, it was like, all right, cool, we got you for the next 2-3 years, and then you're gone. Houston is a bigger market than Kansas City, has more revenue than Kansas City, has more resources than Kansas City. But their 4 guys, Keuchel, Altuve, Springer, Correa, are much more in the Steve Jobs line of work than they are just, well, I gave my friend a paycheck. Let's look at it this way. or just keep this in mind. Keuchel and Altuve already have a contract that they signed with Houston, and it was security over money. They signed a 3-4 year deal early in their careers, so that way they had some longevity and security on their part, even though they are underpaid for what they've actually performed. Keuchel has a Cy Young and a 17-win season. Altuve is going to be the AL MVP. And that's the issue with Houston right now, is you have AL MVP, you have Cy Young, you have Springer and Correa who won't take the security deal, and now they don't have to because you have World Series MVP if you're George Springer. You're going to be an all-star, 20-plus home run center fielder. You have Correa, who's a Rookie of the Year, an all-star, a World Series winner. Congratulations, by the way, on him getting married. That's a big difference than dealing with what Kansas City had. Houston won't be able to pay all these guys. It does not matter. Now, there is one exception. There's the exception of what if Houston keeps winning? Say they get one or two more of the next 3 World Series. Well, then what do? You've seen teams like San Francisco who they pay their own. They're able to, draft guys, develop guys, and get to pay Posey the big deal, Bumgarner the big deal. So could Houston do that? Yes. That's if they win and go on a San Francisco like 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5 year run, or 3 out of 4 year run winning titles. The only teams, and this is part of the issue with baseball, the only teams that can really pay guys regardless if they're winning or not and pay them these huge extreme contracts and keep paying and paying and paying and cycling guys through are the Yankees and the Dodgers. A couple other teams kind of get in the mix here and there, but those are the consistent. We can throw $250 to $300 million at our payroll, and we can keep doing it year after year after year. And because there is no cap in baseball, no salary cap, they are allowed to do this. Don't be surprised if out of these 4 guys, they keep 1 and 3 of them are on the Yankees or Dodgers and the Red Sox also. Let me throw them in there as well. And they're on one of those 3 teams in the next 2 to 3 years. Once again, I repeat, you have an AL MVP, a World Series MVP, a Rookie of the Year world champion, and a Cy Young Award winner, 17-game winner and world champion. You're looking at, if you kept these 4 guys, by the time their contracts come up, over $100 million a year invested in 4 players. You're not the Yankees. You're not the Dodgers. You're not the Red Sox. Houston cannot do that despite being in a bigger market like Houston. It don't work like that in baseball. Let's transition to teams that won't be winning a title this year. And I'm going to make a comparison here between LeBron and my favorite team. And so we're going to talk about Denver. And I know everyone's going to, laugh now. Where's my laugh track? Obviously, Denver got whooped the last 3 weeks now and got embarrassed yesterday. Lost 51-23 to the Eagles. I get it. Get all your jokes out now. I'll give you a couple seconds. All right, we done laughing? So, but you got to give me a second here. Whenever I have to say something like really bad about Denver, it just kind of hurts me. And so I've got to kind of take my time and prep myself and really build up the courage to do it. Plus, recovering from being sick. So this just sucks on every level. Let me clarify that. This just sucks on every level. But here's what's something that Denver hasn't. What's the word I'm looking for? Denver has this in common with LeBron James. That would normally be a good thing. Why do relationships fail? Ask yourself, why do relationships fail? Well, you can ask therapists, and they'll give you an answer. You can ask ex-boyfriends, they'll give you a different answer. And you can ask the girls who complain about it on Twitter, and they'll give you a different answer. Here's my answer. A lot of relationships fail because someone has to overcompensate. When there's equal partnership, equal effort, most relationships find a way to figure themselves out. When you have to overcompensate, someone has to watch the kids one too many times while the other goes out with their friends. Someone's got to make dinner more so than the other person's contributing either towards food, grocery bills, or actually making the food. Someone has to drive more than the other person. Any of these kind of things, when you feel like you're getting the short end of the stick, you have to put in more to get the same or get less. And with that comes this kind of nagging feeling. And you're like, I always have to do more. I'm always getting the short end of the stick. And that just always kind of sticks in the back of your mind, and it builds itself up, and it manifests into big arguments. That's when, hey, did you take out the trash, goes from, oh no, I'll take it out right now. And then when you say that when they're, a little irritated and agitated, it's like, well, you just never seem to take it out until I complain, You know who's really got to overcompensate right now? LeBron James and the Denver Broncos defense. Think about this. And I said this on Twitter yesterday. Denver's defense is like the girl who's dating just that asshole. And you're like, oh my gosh, she deserves better. She's putting in all this effort and she's getting nothing out of it. LeBron is the exact same way right now with the rest of the Cavaliers. And I know everyone's going to say, but LeBron just scored 57 points. Yeah, after having multiple games of 8 turnovers and a 6-turnover game in the middle. Is that good? Is that good? Is 20-some turnovers in a 3-game span? No. And is it LeBron's fault? On some degree, yes. But he has to do so much on that team. And you guys know, if you've listened to me, I am not this pro LeBron, everything he does is perfect and he walks on water. But understand, when you have no help, no support, and it's on a consistent basis, and you're putting in all this effort, because LeBron's played great so far, but his team has played like ass, he has to do more, and he's getting agitated and irritated. Look at Denver's defense. Denver's defense has been great all year, and they give up 51 points to the Eagles. Why? Well, let's look at the comparisons between the two. First, you have inconsistencies for who's out there. Tristan Thompson hasn't been playing as well, gets injured. Kevin Love hasn't been playing as well. Dwayne Wade hasn't been playing well. D. Rose hasn't been playing well. Obviously, Denver has its quarterback situation. Trevor Siemian wasn't playing well. Plus, you don't even know who's going to be out there sometimes. D. Wade starting. Now he's coming off the bench. Derrick Rose is in. Then he's out because he's injured. Tristan Thompson gets hit with the Kardashian curse. You've got Denver. You have offensive linemen rotating in and out, in and out. You never know who's going to consistently be there besides the center, Matt Paradis. Now you just have yesterday where Trevor Siemian is no longer starting, and there's Brock Osweiler, and Brock Osweiler didn't play better. And you have guys on defense just sitting there on the sideline. And as soon as the game went to 17-3, they just sat there and looked, and it's like, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. We can't score 17 points. It doesn't even matter. And if you watch that game, Denver, which has played with effort and excellence on that side of the ball to such a high degree, the number one unit coming into the week, just gave up. Why keep trying? Why keep cooking great food? He's not going to take out the trash. Why keep putting more gas in my car? He's just going to make me drive. They will have the 8 turnover, 6 turnover stretches. They will have the 51-point games. And yes, they will have their dominant great games. Like against Dallas. Denver's defense was on top of it. Against San Diego, the first game where they were the only reason they were in that game. And you're going to have games like LeBron where he's scoring 57 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists. But if they have to do that on a consistent basis, it's not worth what they're getting out of that relationship. And eventually they're just going to give in. Both are putting in so much more than they're getting out. And these relationships are going to fail to the point of the Cavs will make the playoffs, even though they're 12th seed right now, but it's 10 games. I said before the season started they would not make the finals this year. And Denver, who I predicted to be in the playoffs, which I'm going to get into later as well, they also will miss the playoffs. Both teams will will come short of their expectations for what they wanted this season. And if it was a relationship, they're both falling short of this me, you partnership. Stick it out. Because LeBron's about to leave, and Denver's about to have huge division in that locker room if they can't get more than 17 points in a weekend. I hate talking negatively about Denver. I understand. You have to do it, and I am biasly objective, if that's a thing, if I can phrase it like that. I understand what Denver is. I'm always going to root for them. I'm always going to support them. It sucks because I've got to go to work today, and one of the people I work with is an Eagles fan, so that'll suck. Gosh, I might not go to work today, you guys. I might just call out. Also, shout out to the podcast connector. So I was on the subreddit for podcasts this weekend, and it was a guy who was kind of submitting, and it was basically it's like a networking for small podcasts, and a couple people in the podcast connector were kind of reaching out, talking to, and it's like giving different information and feedback on what their podcast is about, what they do, how they do it, how often, different strategies. So it's a really cool networking opportunity and a learning opportunity. I like to learn. I like to read. I like to pick up new information. So that was really cool. What else? I think I had one more thing I wanted to kind of give a shout out to before I went to my next topic. Shout out to my cat, because he's still a lazy piece of shit. Right, Chowder? Yeah, you still lazy. You're still lazy. So really interesting story. I was reading on the internet, and great place to get information and learn about things. And I was seeing a whole bunch after the Broncos-Eagles game, a whole bunch of comparisons to how Carson Wentz is the new Tom Brady or is the new Aaron Rodgers. And this was becoming an argument. It's who does he most resemble out of the top tier quarterbacks? And I haven't watched a ton of Carson Wentz, but I went back and watched highlights, some film, some study, analysis. Wanted to make sure I knew what I was talking about, right? So this is what I came up with. Is Wentz the new Tom Brady? No. Is Wentz the next Aaron Rodgers? No. Wentz is the new Brett Favre. Carson Wentz is a gunslinger with a great team around him, which is letting him not run into the same mistakes most gunslingers run into. And a lot of you are going to think right now, oh my gosh, how could you compare him to Brett Favre? Brett Favre threw all those interceptions. You don't know what you're talking about. How, he's not Brett Favre. He's too accurate. He's too precise to be Brett Favre. We're just going to act like Brett Favre didn't win 3 MVPs and have 3 high 30 touchdown seasons in the 1990s? Okay, I guess we're just not going to talk about that. That's fine. Well, let's talk about it, actually. Favre had a 2.4 interception percentage, meaning on 2.4% of his passes he would throw an interception in 4 of his first 5 years in Green Bay. He had 1 year where he threw 24 picks, led the league. I get that. That was a bad season. Throw that season out. Wentz, through a season and a half, has a 2.1. I think that's pretty comparable. 0.03. I think that's pretty fair to say, right? Oh, in those three out of those 4 seasons, Brett Favre threw for 30-plus touchdowns. 38, 35, and 34. Huh. Carson Wentz is on pace to throw for 38 touchdowns this year. Isn't that fascinating? The difference between Brett Favre and Carson Wentz is only in your head. You think because Carson Wentz isn't turning the ball over at the same rate, you think because he's more accurate with the ball, he's not like Brett Favre? Let's look at the team around them for a second. Carson Wentz has a Super Bowl caliber team, which is eliminating some of his mistakes. He's getting great protection. The defense is playing great. They're able to run the ball and able to stop the run. Oh, isn't that fascinating? When he has a really good team around him, it's like he's not doing this, making the same mistakes Brett Favre made. Wow, it's almost like Brett Favre didn't make those mistakes when the Packers were a Super Bowl caliber team during those 3-4 year run, and when he was with the Vikings and they were a Super Bowl caliber team. It's almost like he had the best touchdown interception ratio of his career. Huh, isn't that funny? When you have better talent, you make less mistakes. Huh, okay. Take a risk taker in business, right? Someone who's investing, someone who's into stocks, someone who's into anything you have to put your own money up for and actually risk not getting the same reward as what you put in. When you have larger finances and a better team around you, you have less of a risk. Because why? Because you have more to work with than the guy who has $100 and he's trying to invest $30. And he doesn't have advisors. He doesn't have this board of directors that can help guide him. If I used to play blackjack, when I went to play blackjack, I'd have a theoretical bankroll. I had $500 I could use, right? And I could either win and add to that bankroll, or I would lose. But I had $500. That was the most I could do without risking or jeopardizing my bills. Huh. I played with another guy. His bankroll was like $5,000. He didn't have to make the same kind of mental mistakes I would because he had a bigger bankroll. If I was down to less $200, that would affect my bet. If he went down $300, it's whatever. I keep playing the same way because I've got $5,000 behind me. This guy's only got $500. Carson Wentz, for a fact, this year he's doing a 1.9% interception ratio. Isn't that funny? He had a 2.4 last year. And really, if you want to round it up, if you break the number down enough, it really goes up to 2.5. When he had less talented team, less playmakers, less productivity. Then the risk taker, the gunslinger, has his mistakes show up more. Tony Romo had the fewest interceptions of his career when the Cowboys were a 13-12 win team. When they were an 8-9 win team and they weren't as good, they weren't as talented, oh look, his mistakes went up. And I like Carson Wentz. This is not in any way, shape, or form to diss on Carson Wentz. But he is much more Brett Favre than he is Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. And my final point on this is you look at all the young quarterbacks in the league right now. Deshaun Watson, even though he just got hurt, Dak Prescott, and Carson Wentz. They have great situations around them. And even take Jared Goff from LA, who's now got improved coaching staff, better players. They're in an environment where they're going to succeed more. They have better coaches. They have better playmakers, better offensive lines, more talent around them. You know who's the best out of all these young quarterbacks? Even though I don't know if you'd call him young anymore. He's been in the league for like 5-6 years now. But I still think he's considered young. Russell Wilson. Because even though Russell Wilson still has a great defense behind him, his offense, which he came into the league with a good offensive line, Marshawn Lynch, more weapons at receiver, he's lost pretty much all of them, from Golden Tate to Lynch to his offensive line. And his numbers, especially his rate numbers, are still the same year in, year out. Russell Wilson is much more Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Carson Wentz is much more Brett Favre. Now get mad about that. Someone. So, there's this funny thing that happened, and I was like, all right, it's halfway through the NFL season. Let's look at where I was right, where I was wrong. And then I figured out with these playoffs, I'm kind of right but wrong, but I'm wrong about being right, and I'm right about being wrong. It's really weird. So you can go check my video out, or check out the podcast episode where I was predicting who would be in the playoffs in the AFC and the NFC. So I figured let's do a halfway check, right? See how close I am at the halfway point. Currently, the AFC consists of, if you started the playoffs today, it'd be the Patriots, Steelers, Chiefs, Titans, Jaguars, and Bills. Pretty safe to say the Jaguars and Bills are surprises. Titans, so-so. Here are my teams that I had in the playoffs, and I'm not even going to go down the seeding, just simply in the playoffs. Titans, Texans, Broncos, Steelers, Patriots, Raiders. Well, the Raiders are a game out. The Broncos aren't making it. The Texans would have made it if not for their quarterback situation, obviously. But I got the Titans, Steelers, and Patriots correct. Cool. Some 3 out of 6. Let's go to the NFC. I predicted Seahawks, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings, Cowboys, Packers. In the NFC, currently the playoff teams would be Eagles, Rams, Vikings, Saints, Seahawks, Panthers. Easy. I think it's pretty obvious to say the Rams and Saints are the surprises of the league in the NFC. I have never, and this is going to sound really cliche, I've never, outside of maybe being like introductory sports fan and only going off what they tell me on ESPN and off of the general like Fox Sports or CBS Sports, I've never fully bought into the quarterback argument that's like, oh, if you have a quarterback, you make up for all your other needs. And like, I don't know, it just always felt like a cop-out to me. Like, I understand how important a quarterback is, but it just felt like a cop-out to say, oh, you just need a quarterback, everything else is second tier or irrelevant. And part of my reasoning was, it's like, I see year after year after year, usually the team that improves the most from one season to the next is a team that learns how to run the football better. Look at the Rams. They're having a much improved offensive season, and it's not just because Jared Goff is playing better. It's because Todd Gurley's turned back into a top 5 running back. Look at a team like the Panthers. They're running the ball again. They couldn't really run the ball last year, and they weren't a playoff team last year. This year they can run. They're going to be a playoff team. The Jaguars and Bills, they can run the ball. Jaguars got Leonard Fournette. The Bills got LaShawn McCoy, Tyrod Taylor doing their thing. The Titans, running football team. And then, as much as I was going through this, and I'm like, okay, see, my personal philosophy of you have to run the football, and you've got to be able to run better, and the quarterback is not this walk-on-water type figure. Do you realize what my picks would look like if quarterbacks were playing the way they were supposed to? Well, the Titans, Steelers, and Patriots I'm right about, correct? Well, the Texans I'm going to end up being wrong about. Their quarterback was playing great, tore his ACL. Get better soon, Deshaun Watson. The Broncos don't have a QB on their roster. And Derek Carr got hurt and missed 2.5 games, or 1.5 games, I'm sorry, and just hasn't played up to the level he did last year when they were a playoff team. Okay, quarterback really makes a difference. In the NFC, I was wrong about the Buccaneers, the Packers, and could still be right about the Cowboys. The Cowboys and Raiders I could still both be right about. The Cowboys are a game out of the wild card. Raiders are 2 games out of the division, and I believe a game out of the wild card. Buccaneers, Jameis Winston has been a disappointment. The Cowboys, Dak has not played up to the level that he did last year. And the Packers obviously lost Aaron Rodgers for the season. So I'm 2 season-ending injuries, inconsistent play, away from being right on every single playoff team. I'm kind of legitimately sad because I'm like, I believe in when you give an opinion on something, or when you're very like just having strong opinions. I believe in, but have data and be able to back up your strong decisions and your strong opinions, right? And like I said, I've always not credited the quarterback enough. I've always seen the team that improves the most is usually the team that's like, okay, we don't have a franchise quarterback. Let's do the things that we can do, like run the football, play better defense, and see how far that takes us. So, am I really wrong? Because the Jaguars and Bills I don't have in the playoffs because they're going with my old philosophy. They're going with my philosophy of you have to be able to run the ball and play better defense. And they're doing that, and they're in. But if the Texans and Raiders didn't have injuries to their quarterbacks, would they be in? The Rams are running the football. Would the Cowboys be in their position if they had that quarterback play? The Buccaneers be in that position if their quarterback is having better play? Would the Packers, you'd have to think, would be in there instead of the Vikings, right? And I had the Vikings in the playoffs, but as a wild card. You'd have to figure the Packers would be at least a wild card if Aaron Rodgers is still playing. Right? I don't know. I'm going to leave that one up to you guys. Let's see here really quick. A couple more things I want to get to before I head out. Did anyone see James Harden last night? Like, I remember just looking at my phone, and it was James Harden, 52 points, 13 assists through 3 quarters. Wow. It's like it finished with 56 points. So I like to think, and I talk about male bravado and teams not being as scared as the Cavs and Warriors as they were before. And James Harden might have the most male bravado in the world because he's not scared of the Warriors despite not having a whole lot of success against them. And he literally took the challenge of LeBron shocking the world, or not shocking the world, but basically putting the world on notice with his 57, 11, and 7. And James is like, you know what? I can one-up this motherfucker. It was incredible. That might be the greatest performance through 3 quarters I've ever seen in my life. And I didn't even get to see it. Kobe scoring 63 against the Mavericks, I thought was like, that's untouchable. That's untouchable. You can't, no one's going to do that. James Harden, respect. It's the best offensive player in the league. What else we got here we could talk about before I got to take off? What are we looking forward to this week in sports? I always call this the letdown week because we just had the World Series. We have the NFL. We have the NBA season starting up. Like, it is. It was truly it's like the best week in sports, right? And you could honestly say it's like the best 2 weeks because you have the championship series and you have the World Series. We got a great 7-game series in the ALCS. We got a great 7-game series in the World Series. Like, it's truly one of the best times we have in sports. And then, unfortunately, this week is kind of a letdown. But don't let that letdown disturb you from the fact of, or distract you from the fact of, gosh, I hate my voice right now. Like, my voice I sound like a bitch. We're watching one of the greatest rookie classes in NBA history. This is some rookie class pace adjusted per 36 numbers. The age of this year's rookie class is 21.4. Last 4 years, not last 4 years. And their points per 36 is 14.4. Their rebounds per 36 are 6.3 and assists per 36 are 3.3. Let's also look at the fact of, which the 14.4, the reason why it's a big deal is it's one of the highest ever for a rookie class. And they're also the youngest rookie class. Their average age is 21.4. Half these dudes can't even drink. Think about that for a second. There's already like 5 legitimate good players in this draft class. Jason Tatum, Lauri Markkanen, if I said that correctly. Not Joel Embiid. Ben Simmons. I understand he's kind of with last year, but he's a rookie this year. You get Mitchell and Kyle Kuzma from the Lakers. Like, those are 5 guys. They're already putting in points, rebounds, assists, already playing. They're already factors for their team. What else? Then you still have Markelle Fultz, Lonzo, De'Aaron Fox, Dennis Smith, and Frank, I cannot say his last name, Ntilikina. I apologize. I'm going to try to fuck up your last name. I just can't say it. They're struggling right now. Imagine these guys if they get it going. And I really like De'Aaron Fox. I talked about I would take De'Aaron Fox over Lonzo. I'm a huge De'Aaron Fox fan. Then you got guys like John Collins, Josh Jackson, Jonathan Isaac, who I saw the other day when the Pelicans were playing the Magic. He's really explosive, showing great flashes. Malik Monk, a Jordan Bell. And then you got guys like Dylan Brooks, Mike James, Milos Teodosic. Once again, I apologize. I'm not trying to mispronounce anyone's name. Y'all just got some fucked up names. They're earning legit rotation minutes. With rookie classes, I always feel like they get judged too early, especially because they're so much younger than people actually realize. I talked about before, can you really be a bust by 22 years old? And there's just that became a interesting conversation. But the one thing that's a fact is this rookie class is big time. Ben Simmons is big time as fuck. I wanted to talk about the Pelicans more, but I want them to get over 500 before I start talking about them. And when they do, let me tell you, y'all are fucked. Because I'm about to have a whole Pelicans podcast once they start making some noise. Y'all don't even want to turn. I'll even put a disclaimer, if you don't want to hear nothing about the Pelicans, don't even watch that episode. But until we get to there, remember, if you liked or saw anything that you liked, right? Did I say that right? If you saw I'm going to get this right. If you saw or liked anything, please don't forget, leave a thumbs up. Please subscribe. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Peace out.